We have the marketing man here, so I had a request to take over the photography. Our ambassador is not here yet. With that, I hand it over to Manish, and I will. Yeah. Thanks. Hello all. I'm excited to be here. I'm Manish Kani. I live in Katy, Texas. So, project management, program management is a passion of mine. Excited about talking about hybrid projects powered by AI. So modern projects, as project managers, take the adaptability as well as the structure. So it needs both. Who here have started a project with a good plan and that hits into roadblock? So most of us, yeah. Who here have struggled to maintain control and rapidly changing requirements in such situations? So what it is there isn't a single solution to all situations. There is we need to make sure that we use a best of blend between between methodologies to navigate through these complexities and get into those efficiencies and get to the unprecedented. Today, I'm going to explore some of these approaches to hybrid project management. How can we navigate through? That is what I would like to talk about, and I think that that's today. Now that we've talked about blending project methodologies for success, I think it is important that we go back to real-time world projects where projects have failed. So it's a passion of mine. I talk to project managers. I kind of ask them, okay, hey, what are the projects have you managed? What were some of the success points? And most importantly, what did you learn from? So some of the projects that went very bad, which failed, I would like to call one of them that I'm reading about it was the Denver baggage handling project. This was in the 1990s, where the city of Denver they had an ambitious plan. They were looking at a use case where from the flight, running of the flight all the way to the baggage claim, there were multiple handoffs. There were multiple ways to make that more efficient. So they recognized that problem. However, they wanted to put that into with a new technology, try to navigate that through the project. And the Denver project is much bigger than a San Francisco project, about 10 times the volume of the comes there. So when they put this project on, this project took 15 months. They started with a fantastic plan. They were not able to end. A classic failure. Why did it fail? Technology was unknown. They lacked strong leadership. There were many consulting companies who wanted to come into this, try to solve this problem for them. There were communication failures. There were requirements that were not known, and the requirements that people given and told is not a requirement. All those aspects that one project actually doing. So this is what to learn for us, right? To see that okay, these kind of things will need to be taken care of. Then we advanced, right? So we looked at new things started coming, project management started evolving, agile methods started coming into play. There are projects that embrace agile, and this is a classic example of the UK government system, where the project went from 2017 to 20 and $7 million, but this was failure as well. That was very much criticized by the media over there as well. They wanted to fight the welfare system in the UK, but it failed. Again, what were some of the key takeaways over there? The key takeaways over there were lack of agility. The team that was putting this project together lacked that experience. Again, there were problems with requirements, doing, but they were not able to scale the agile methodology. So again, there are these projects that has space. And I myself have been in projects again. I had a plan, tried to work that through, was not able to do it. So tried agile as well, and again, sometimes great, but not all the time. There are also high value things. So we want to take a little bit into a bit of a situational concept, right? What is that we need to do to get projects over the line, right? So we need to do planning, risk management, documentation, right? So all these components to get to it. What this waterfall would best here? Again, that's in upfront planning, in documentation, can help, going forward in a structured way. Agile, for example, can help us where the requirements are unclear, can help us get continuous feedback, but in interest. But we've seen both of these have their own. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not taking side of agile. I'm not taking side of waterfall. What I'm thinking.
Yeah, the two projects you mentioned, and they were sort of failure projects, or there were issues. Are there any common elements in both projects, Agile and Waterfall, that you can focus on? Okay, these are main items that failed in both sides.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as we go through the deck, okay, I can see there are things in both sides in terms of requirements. How is that we can improve? Using the best of blend of two approaches. What I'm going to focus on. Again, I'm not catching the side of agile or I'm getting back on waterfall or anything. It's strategically planning, taking the components from both these methodologies and tailoring it to your own unique project. What hybrid project. And that's what I've been working on for a while now, trying to improvise. Again, my job there is to change. And this weekend I will about it, right? And putting change is hard, right? And to improve is to change, and to be perfect is to have change. So I've heard this saying, very famous saying. So we need to start looking at different aspects so that we can get. And that's what it's talking about, where we tailor the methodology, taking the best of breed from different methodologies to come up with a concept that can be used and put it in. So that's where I would like to use hybrid project. Okay. Now let's see why what is in it, right? Look at hybrid teams. What is that we can do? So these things again will go into detail. This hybrid project management will some of the key things. With some flexibility for us to accommodate our requirements. It will help us with risk management, putting that structure into a comprehensive risk management, predictability, also helping us with some of the stakeholder engagement, where with this method we could save some time and invest that time and making sure that we are on top of things. So some of the key benefits here, and at the end of the day, we all want to get in project success that are success that we want to see as we manage projects. And for me, it's not about leading projects; it's about mastering projects. How do I go from leading projects to mastering projects? Right? That's what I want. I'm after, and that's what I'm passionate about. Trying to try different things so that I can bring that change and put that change into the organization. This is one of the things that has worked. So now we looked at what the benefits are, and now I think the question becomes how. What is that we need to do to get into what are some of the common approaches? So if we could, I mean, I've used all of these approaches. First one again, the concept here is what is some policy. So this concept is we can use this in a fixed type of a project where we know our requirements. So during the initial phases of the project, we go waterfall, where we planning phase, that is phase, lock down the requirements, and And then when we know our scope is kind of there, we then iterate it during our real, and then come back to the again, if there is a scenario here that I have used, and I think back to my current project, the data transformation project, we are actually we've completed our waterfall cycles in terms of the discovery, getting the requirements, and then getting into realize, using scaled agile during the realize phase, and then coming back to waterfall into a way of testing it. So we are using that, and we've used before. That's the approach that Then the second one, I think most of us probably might know in terms of, okay, we don't know the requirements. Yeah? We don't know the requirements. We don't know, businesses themselves don't know the requirements. There is a need to do a proof of concept. There is a need to do a proof of value. There is a need to do to understand what an approach would be or what a program would look like. That's where we can use agile in the front end phases. Requirements, this particular is to use agile there. Then once a baseline is known, then use waterfall methodology to lock down those tools. And the third one here is the dual track. Teams, front end team that probably uses agile, and back end team probably uses like that as well. There's a data team that probably uses a waterfall methodology. There's change management that probably uses agile and hybrid. The different tracks going in parallel, and finally active waterfall, which is again waterfall.
So would you say it's pretty much depending on the industry? Well, sometimes you have larger corporations, they prescribe that you have to follow a certain methodology. Although if we look at the talent triangle with ways of working, now we've got infinite toolbox that we can choose from. Where do you see ways that you can inform corporations like, hey, I get it, but maybe there's a better way of doing it? As situations in your experience where you're going up against the established methodology, you need to.
I think that goes back to how important it is change and how we can myself and I came up with this approach. Years back that we had rigid waterfall methodology and agile was coming up. And then people wanted to use it without knowing what it was, and they were doing waterfall and calling it agile. And then I kind of saw that, and I saw that problem that we think failure. And I came up with this methodology where it started to work with the stakeholders to see that, okay, this is something can we try, can we do it in a chunk, like do it on a small project, maybe utilize this idea so that it can go. I'm pretty sure, PMI bodies, they can start propagating it maybe even night. But I think for me, the most important thing is explaining to our stakeholders or to the large corporations, saying that there are failures that you have seen in this department using this methodology, there are failures. If it's a key project, can we try it first? Let's start small. That's the.
We do agile mostly for innovation projects. Like you said, there's no defined scope or requirements. And then once you've got the product or the service, then you transition to waterfall exactly. But you can accelerate parts of waterfall using agile concepts.
The adaptive waterfall.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, people get that, right? Again, I've seen, again, I'm not talking the tools, I'm talking about oil and gas use in this. They think they are doing it. They're actually not doing it. They're not releasing it. But they're trying to go sequentially, which is probably not right. You need to put some agility into it so that you have the continuous feedback loops from stakeholders, from your partners, trying to move that forward. So I think using those agile concepts in ended up, that's given us.
You mentioned oil and gas. Houston is oil and gas. I think it's pretty much consensus among the PM community here in Houston. The oil and gas project cannot be completed. That's why you're talking hybrid. I'm particularly interested in, generally, communities used to, or oil and gas industry is used to with waterfall methodology. So it has, hybrid means the combination of both. So I think, I would like to see, okay, this is the waterfall methodology that normally is practiced, but these are certain areas where can you do the hybrid work, meaning agile work. That is what I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah, I think again, it depends on the type of the project that you, so, right, again, if, large scale, let's talk about enterprise wide, an SAP, a big program, 3 years, 5 years, that can't, it's a package software, right? It can't go, and dilute. But as we get more modern and, budgets are getting more tighter, right? We need to find a way to go fast, right? How exactly we want to go fast? So that's where I came up with the matrix of, okay, during the initial phases, we go up to plan. But when we get into realize, let's iterate, let's get into PI planning, let's get into sprint, where we start doing small chunks of work, let's tackle them, let's tackle the most important part of the work, get out of the way. So, and then once we get our development done, let's come back to waterfall. So that's most of my projects are on over here. But when I get into convenience retail and, new technology, that's where there is a no man's land, that we don't know the requirements. Right? Business themselves, they don't know the requirements. And that's where I think the second approach is helps us a lot. Where the UI team is trying to do work, try to get that, so that prototype, get to the user, how does this thing look great? Okay, come on, let's start things that are needed. And then when the scope is kind of locked down, then let's go into a wonderful.
I have been in oil and gas as well, and usually I've always been in the IT department, because I'm an IT project manager, and usually even in oil and gas in the IT department, depending on the kind of project you're doing, if it's an analytics project or a app dev project or something of that sort, they are usually leaning towards agile. Those are leaning towards agile. Now, sometimes the very high level might be done in waterfall, but the daily stand-ups and everything are still done in agile. I've been in projects where Microsoft Project is being used in a way, in a waterfall way, but then Jira and Azure DevOps are also being used for the same project for different areas.
Absolutely, I think that's exactly my experience as well, and I can relate to the oil and gas industry. Is that we do have a Microsoft project plan, which is the milestone higher level, right? Capturing your milestones, requirements, workshops, what have you, and then using the Jira, basically getting into the nitty-gritties of the design, daily sprints and mastering stories. And again, the interesting thing there is, it's all right. IT as a community gets used to those things, but the business as a community, they are also getting used. I mean, that's the important part, because the thing, even though when we go to AI, business will still go to Microsoft. They will say these are my activities. But the evolution here is not only you're making themselves dirty, but also involving the business, so that they kind of understand this concept, and they are also a propagator. Going back to the question, right? They are also a propagator to advocate this, given that they have seen the value.
And businesses usually always, like in the user stories itself, you can mention some of the subject matter experts of the business, because we need their input for validating whether the functionality in the story is correct and all that. So, I mean, agile, typically, at least the agile portion of the work, it pays off well if the whole organization is agile for that.
Oh, the push needs to come from the stakeholders, right? It needs to come from the C-suite. It needs to come from the leadership. We need this man. We need this project to get done, and for that to be propagated, I think the leadership buy-in, I think, is the key.
With the leadership, that's the problem, right? Because they don't really understand even basic waterfall project management. I think they want to mix it with operations, and they just think they know what it is. So let's say, for me, agility is only fail fast. Okay, it didn't work, fail fast. That's for, in their mind, that's what agility means. Not necessarily how you're going to get there.
Maybe a poster child. I mean, you
application.
And they have,
Yes,
and they have software suites that have been purchased
Yeah.
globally that have a large, expense. They want to be able to use a lot of the software solutions that are not fully amortized yet. So they're not ready to go agile.
Yeah, I think it's that initial stakeholder engagement phase of a project, where you take them through how is that we're going to deliver. What is our days? How is it? And these are my phases, and how I'm trying to go through it, and these are my milestones, things like that, right? And going through, from top to bottom, and explaining it not at a lower level, but at a higher level. This is when I need your help, right? Will come to you and say that, okay, I've finished this chunk of work, and then another way we also tried is, you release money for us based on phase, for this phase, right? To technology, release money. What is the next phase? Once this part to that case, right? So that's another way I've used as well, so that you get that buy-in from, they know that, these guys are serious about it. They want to make this. Let's make that. Is there any questions from the? Okay, so now that we've looked at, and again, there are multiple literature on AI, how AI is changing the world, how AI has been part of life. Yeah, this is what to help, which can provide some powerful insights to us, can help us make some informed decisions, proactive decisions, and use harness some of the data that's been collected and train itself to some value in here from a project management standpoint. So again, so again, I'm just going to touch again. I'm not talking about AI, but I want to touch this topic in here so that how is that we can influence AI to the hybrid model. There are tasks that are repetitive, right? But schedules that need to be updated, and that needs to be updated. Absolute use case for us. And we can build models to do that. We can get data-driven insights. Like in my experience, working on a project where we use AI for risk, and it actually looked at market insights and noticed that the supplier was going through some financial instability. And using that supplier, so kind of flagging that thing ahead of time, so that we could go back and change the supplier, for example. Data-driven insights is absolutely key in helping us making that decision. And it's project management. It's not taking something away from them, but it's kind of helping them there. Now, if you translate that into hybrid, and again, this can be used across, but most importantly, what I use it is in terms of the story generation and prioritizing our backlogs. AI spaces is better used AI. It helps look at the requirements vertically and try to come up with a story based on the assets. And then also prioritize backlogs based on risk, based on value, based on dependencies. And again, it's giving you a baseline, right? But it is helping say to that here. Use it for requirement analysis of thousands of requirements we have, and inconsistencies, validation, etc. Resource management, there are multiple estimation software that are available, and that is with AI. That help us come up with based on skills, based on the project size, based on schedule, try to come up with a resource plan for the project. Again, these are talking big projects, multi-year projects that span across years. That's the thing where you have 1,000+ people working on them. That really helps. Absolutely. Always. So again, getting back into where to use AI and what needs, it's very important to understand what aspects of project management, what aspects of AI I think that's evolving, right, based on certain parameters, on, tools, KPI, based on, functionality, integration costs. What type of model can I think that is something important. Again, what my, I always use the pilot of POC, and keep in mind, this is only helpful, only useful for data insights, for data structure, for data, in motion, and our processes are standardized. I was putting a time tracking system, not 2 months back. I wanted to provide a timesheet to an employee pre-populated, but I didn't know how to do that because I didn't have all the left. Department people don't know how to do that. Even though I have the tools, I don't know what to put in data. And there are tools available in the market.
Yes, I think creating the agent for me is always the hard part. Because we can't just dump in like attachments and just say, analyze this attachment and let me know this and that.
Yes.
We don't teach the agent first, like create the agent effectively. We don't get enough information out of it. And obviously, from my standpoint, it's the entire project life cycle, which is start at the very beginning, even at the tender of the commercial phase.
Yes.
And then the information can flow down there. But to your point about specs, in the oil and gas industry, we have specs that talk about other specs, that talk about other specs, and all of a sudden you have 1,000 specs, and all of them have, conflicting information. So I think the challenge for me is go back to the client and say, by the way, you sent me 100 specs. These are conflicting here, and those are conflicting there before we sign on. Afterwards, it's hard to
Yes, absolutely.
change that.
Yeah. And some of the things that like processes are that's what I said. That's standardized process. That way, everybody's doing the same thing, right? Because we have 15 different ways of paying, 20 different ways of onboarding a record. There are, every country is different, every business is different. So there needs to be a good standardization before we start using all these things. Otherwise, I just go back to a simple invoice matching. So we got an invoice for $100 contract. We don't have work, we don't have. It took us 3 years for auditors to figure that out. So now, okay, fine, let's put AI, everybody excited. AI, what? We figured out. Company X. In US, the invoice formats are different. In US, in different sites, it's different. Protect another vendor, in same vendor, it's different. So unless you standardize your invoices, there's no point putting it, right? It's space. The project, again, going back to the previous. We got excited about Azure and Azure AI and everything, ready to put it, but try to come to know that unless you standardize your invoice format, supplier is sending you that invoice in that format, it's not able to learn because every time it's getting a new format. So yes, the rate was very, very, very low. Right? So the important thing again, going back to this. So again, this slide I put some key things that I've used some of this as well. On our example for home projects, but and there's about ChatGPT that would help us, at least some brainstorm, things, come up with documents, come up with some initial drafts. Use Copilot again, helping with some of the project management.
So for these tools, so in our company's case, we have restrictions. We can't just use tools because if we have proprietary innovations or ideas, it gets out into the general public. So we have to have a vetted, like our Copilot is a specific vetted version that we can use. We can only use that version. Otherwise, we don't have IP authorization to just dump things into, even Infinity, like going to Be My Infinity and start doing that, that would be a big no-no. We would get in big trouble.
Oh, yeah, and then again, it goes back to company's code of conduct and their AI policy, as well as, how much of data they want to expose versus don't want to expose. So that the generators of that company, we might, they are looking at. So it will depend on the industry and the company, on the code of conduct and the AI policy. Again, it also depends on the ethical considerations they want to use as well. And very big on that as well. Talk about all those challenges that we are going to face in that. What I'm trying to put here is there are certain And again, there are things that I've introduced, like an AI moment, our safety moment, oil and gas, we start with the safety moment. Let's start with the AI moment, right? Let's talk about some skills that we're gonna, I learned is forward slash, into the file, okay, let's find, email or summarize the content of an email to, start putting that culture into the user community so that they can start learning as well. So, and some of that depends on that as well. So again, this is a list of things that can help based on these things. Absolutely, yes, it would depend on the industry, it would depend on the company, how they want to explore this. Yeah, but I can already see some of these arguments. Talk to different colleagues, industries as well, and they are using that for project management. And again, this huge future there in terms of deploying AI in phases and making sure that our data is intact and trying to make harvest out of it. About that, as well as developing our skills. I was reading about Times New York, where 80 to 90% of the stars do know how to create agent bots. That can help, resolve your customer query for you, or solve a ticket for you, or that there are multiple bots that created that can intelligently start thinking based on what you need. But again, maybe oil and gas is maybe a step a little behind, but I think this is coming. Forward again, we'll have to train folks get to it, right? And again, I've seen PMP or PMI putting all those trainings on how to take or as an AI project manager.
There's new certification as well, right? That came out. That's PMUs and everything.
Oh, really?
New AI certification.
Okay.
So that might be it.
And then maybe that will,
It's in community
Brandon?
they have
Yeah, like
Cognitive
month or 2 months ago. Yeah. Oh, the e-learning, they used to be micro-credentials and other transformed to e-learning. Now there's an actual certificate. I think it has 30 PDUs. You have to.
in addition to the 60 for
Yes.
EFP.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's one of the couple I just thought of talking about a case study so that putting something to life. I think again this one project that I worked on, this project that I put your system for a gas station nationwide, and then there was a vendor that was going away, and I put it in. Bunch of things we have to do: software development, hardware, training, integration with procurement, finance, etc. So this system has to integrate with all of that. And again, this will use a hybrid approach for this, and waterfall for planning, and agile for software development, and also use some of the AI bits in terms of here scheduling, risk management, and chatbot for communicating with the suppliers as well as audit, which gave us some benefits in here that was absolutely loved by the state. And we APIs to short version of this.
The use case which you have implemented in your company, or it's a generic use case which you have taken?
It's something that we use, but it's in the company.
Which tool have you used for creating the chatbot?
We've used it's Automation Anywhere, intelligent automation.
Use Make.com quite successfully to create agents and workflow automation. Good tool, Make.com, MAKE.com. Look at it later, but
Yeah. I mean, we use Azure bots as well, those bots as well. Again, the important thing that is, and it's a cascading network of bots. Actually, not one bot does bot sending information to another bot to intelligent do that. For example, in answering this queries is set up for that only the queries and the so there's a lot of innovation that's gone in there.
you're talking about AWS and then Azure and then automation and why are you using 3-4 different
For this one, we only use automation anyway.
in your organization there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Similarly, again, in here, talking about, logistics, project with, complex networks, complex, demand forecasting, and, with ideas and real-time visibility as well. Again, again, the focus here is using the hybrid approach with some AI to get this over the line, right? I kind of use that, decentralized type of an agile distribution where regions are decentralized, but use an agile methodology to do it, and again, use the AI-driven, forecasting, to solve some of their problems, reporting analytics with some KPIs and operations. And based on the results that we have got, looked at it, and again, we looked at some KPIs by doing the percentages in terms of efficiency, storage, making sure that it's just in time, etc. And other part of that stuff.
So, where exactly you fit in AI here?
So we fit in AI in a bunch of things in, for example, reporting analytics, task management, for example, in those, aspects, as well as some of the optimization that we look at.
And again, similar kind of tools. Were you able to realize the value out of it, or
Yes,
you were
there
able
are
to?
numbers right there.
Would this presentation be available because it's hard to read?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, if you have already given it to me, is
Yeah.
it okay to distribute it to the attendees? Great, thanks.
Automation anywhere.
We just started using intelligence in that, and
At what point? Because I also know as a RPA tool, used it, I think.
yeah, you used it for, it's come up with newer, modules to use that.
360 and all that. Right, okay.
Right, I think some of the challenges and considerations, I spoke about a little bit about data quality, integration complexity, and we talked about data quality integrations. Also, I've seen that, again, maybe not all the APIs are exposed, or, there is compatibility issues with software for sure. So I think using AI sometimes might be a problem. Again, there's a lot of biases with, ethical considerations, with geographical biases, with data privacy, security. So I think there are all these challenges that probably need to come through, and then training as well, that needs to happen. That's something to keep in mind, so that a baseline a foundation is provided before you put in into AI. So that some of these challenges are addressed. Call out in here, some of the things that I have seen from. Okay, I think it's pretty much the end. Again, implementing, again, this is my experience in terms of looking at how do you implement your hybrid project based on complexity, experience, culture, assessing the project. Again, simple project management things, right? Making sure we choose the right land, making sure we define clear roles, responsibilities, communication channels, monitoring, adapting it, and trying to use some of these AI tools, right? And some of these are very ambitious, but help in, especially here, right? If we have set of data, it can help us, find that suitable blend of data or waterfall, as well as, help monitor at the baseline for it if it starts at the
Manish, as the project manager, do you actually do any hands-on, like, AI things? Or you have team members?
I do some of them.
You do some?
Yeah, I'm a developer myself.
Yeah, even I'd like to do that, yeah.
All right, I think, some takeaways, I think, yes, again, it's a powerful methodology that can be used, based, again, tailored based on needs of the project, using the best of the components. That's going to empower our project managers, to do better decisions, implement efficiencies, and again, they're there to help us away things from us. And yeah, it's depending on our judgment, it's an enabler. Basically what. Okay, thank you.
for, vision on using hybrid for AI?